The Proteas Test Series win against Sri Lanka last week was somewhat of a sideshow to the Kolpak saga involving bowler Kyle Abbott and batsman Riley Rousseau. Sport 24's Rob Howing joins us in studio to share his thoughts on the matter. Rob, thank you for coming to our studio and happy 2017. Hope you had a good break.
Thank you, I did. Yes, indeed, Nick.
A relatively quiet time of the year on the sport front, but the Proteas giving South African fans something to be proud about and maybe not so proud about in the past week with the Kolpak saga and sort of club over country. What have you made? Well, first of all, what have you made of Abbott's decision? And he's clearly sort of securing his financial future. Do you feel that it was the right decision?
Yeah, it came as a little bit of a bolt from the blue. You know, I'd actually written just before the series saying that finally the path is clear for Kyle Abbott to play a full uninterrupted Test series. We know he's been one of those sort of in and out characters, not always fully appreciated over the years, and I still think that may well have been a fairly strong common denominator in the fact that he actually took this step for sort of for what he admitted was sort of business career. Street savvy sort of reasons, if you like.
Yeah.
We can't really blame him for that. But so ironic that he plays 2 tests and looked pretty decent. 2 tests against Sri Lanka, all set, you would think, to finally complete a full series for him. He's only played 11 test matches in 4 years. So Sri Lanka looked like the obvious opportunity for him to really nail down his place in the side. And then the bombshell breaks at Newlands. Pity, because it did, as you said, put a dampener on the achievement. South Africa were very clinical again. They won it by almost 300 runs, I think. Looked very sharp and clinical and motivated. And then all of a sudden, the whole thing gets completely sort of usurped by Abbottgate and the very sort of diverse reaction, as you'd expect in a country like South Africa with all our complexities. Some people calling him a traitor, that he's abandoned the cause, he's been mercenary. Other people saying, hold on a second, this is a guy who's a fast bowler in his 30th year, wanting clearly some sort of security. For a few years. He has never been guaranteed a place in the national side, though of course nobody should in principle, but it still came as something that's really sort of shaken South Africa to the core, and may not be such a bad thing, because suddenly Cricket South Africa have got a lot of extra issues to deal with, and they need to kind of, let's face it, they've got to try and stop the hemorrhaging, because more further players have been linked to Kolpak's, especially given this whole fact that the Brexit is just around the corner, and counties and South African players are scrambling to try to nail down deals if they can before the loophole closes, before Kolpak possibilities may well dry up for them. So we shouldn't be too surprised. And yet, it seems so tragic that a guy like Kyle Abbott, who's this real honest performer, averages 22 in his Test career, 11 Test matches. That's pretty decent, a pretty decent bowling return, which tells you about the sort of pedigree of player that we're losing. At the end of the day, that cannot be a productive thing. It has to be seen as harmful and a real pity.
Do you think? I mean, there's been some disapproval around the way he handled it, effectively signing the contract behind CSA's backs, and CSA have become the scapegoat in all of this, which is possibly a little unfair. Do you feel that he was a bit shady about it?
I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it. I see the point. For instance, Russell Domingo, the national coach, got very animated about it, and I like that sort of passion and honesty that came out. He was saying that that they'd put in some investment into guys. Especially, he had a special go at Riley Rousseau. More than he did the slightly older Kyle Abbott. Perhaps giving the impression that Abbott has been a little bit more kind of honest through the whole process, and that he certainly, his perception anyway, was that Riley Rousseau's thing had come as much more of a sort of a shock, and an unacceptable shock, because they felt that they've nursed him through lots of injuries and things at sort of Cricket South Africa's expense. And so, there is that side, there is that slightly sort of sour taste in the mouth. But at the same time, if you're Kyle Abbott and you haven't had as many the generosity of opportunities that other players have had, for instance. So this, maybe you can say there's a little case for him, a little bit of sort of understandable tit for tat, if you like, by keeping things a little bit close. I mean, which person, when they leave a job, is going to say a few months before they're going to leave, by the way, guys, I'll be on my bike in a few months' time, so look after me really well in the meantime, you know, give me that promotion, give me that pay hike, etc., etc. They know it's not going to happen. That is a fact of life. So can you blame him for being fairly quiet? You know.